Feeling worthless in a cruel family, I loved deeply yet felt alone. He said he loved me, then pulled away. Was it all in my head? OMG. I simply need to express my feelings and release this burden because I cannot discuss it with anyone else in my life. Please refrain from being harsh regarding my writing. I genuinely make an effort, but I struggle with dyslexia. I attended classes and paid attention, yet sometimes my dyslexia remains obvious. I did not have a particularly positive childhood. My father struggled with alcoholism until my teenage years, and he exhibited violent behavior. During those moments, my mother often froze in fear, but later in life, she became emotionally unstable and treated me with great cruelty. I have a sibling, and I do not hold her responsible for her behavior. However, she is quite overwhelming. She deals with severe depression, and because of our childhood experiences, she often acts out and can be quite harmful and difficult. My parents consistently dismissed her harshness toward me as merely a result of her depression and urged me to just get accustomed to it, becoming irritated when I reacted emotionally to her mistreatment. Other relatives were hardly any better. My mother's side of the family favors my sister and makes it clear whenever possible. They make cruel remarks, ridicule me, and put an effort to connect with my sister while ignoring me altogether. They also speak poorly of me to other family members, who then relay those comments back to me. My sister has even stated directly how they feel. I attempt to assist my paternal grandmother since she is elderly and requires support. However, she also speaks ill of me, often in front of my mother, who joins in. Regardless of my efforts or how hard I tried, I was never seen as good enough by any of them. The feeling of being unwanted by my own family made me feel utterly worthless. What does it say about me that my family did not want me? I earned good grades, and teachers and other adults frequently praised me. I took care of household chores, cooked, assisted those in need, and helped care for disabled relatives. They never had to worry about my academic performance, as I was dedicated and chose a career path that meant they would not need to support me. I hardly ever asked for much. I barely sought even the minimum from them, yet they treated me as if I were a burden. My sister faced difficulties, failing classes and lashing out, saying horrible things to my parents and me. She experimented with drugs and sneaked around breaking rules, yet they lavished her with gifts, affection, and time, allowing her to have friends over and visit them. In contrast, I was never permitted such privileges. They would agree to let me meet with someone, but would then cancel last minute for their own reasons, making me appear unreliable. Because of this unreliability, people became less interested in spending time with me. When one friend finally visited, if my father erupted in anger, they would never want to return. My sister's birthdays were celebrated with great fanfare, including trips and numerous expensive presents. On my birthday, I received a $20 gift that was defective and had to be returned. I never received a replacement. I share this not to seem ungrateful but to provide context. I did have one family member who saw my worth and was proud of me, but he was elderly and sadly passed away. The family dynamics left deep scars, exacerbated by my parents' toxic relationship. Anyone who grew up in such an environment understands that if that is all you know, you might unconsciously mirror those behaviors. I have worked on this since, but the effects linger. With my parents' lack of affection, I felt utterly worthless. One of my father's favorite pastimes while intoxicated was to inform me of my worthlessness, claiming no one would desire me, be it for education, employment, or personal relationships, that no one wants people like me because we are deemed worthless. To this day, I find myself crying when anyone raises their voice, even if they aren't angry or directing their anger toward me. I apologize frequently. While I am addressing this issue, the remnants of those years are still present. Nearly 10 years ago, I found a glimmer of hope in my bleak existence when I met someone who transformed my world, and after 2 years of friendship, we started dating. We were happy, but I struggled with lingering issues from my childhood trauma, often feeling inadequate. He came from a stable, loving home, and I worried that my damaged past was a burden he did not deserve. It was not possible for him to be around my family, as they tended to be cruel and disruptive. My sister treated him poorly, and my parents allowed it to happen. My father often made derogatory remarks about our relationship, sexualizing and dehumanizing it, which made me feel uncomfortable in my own skin and about our bond. I occasionally had reactions and exhibited behaviors that were inappropriate in a relationship, but I was unaware that these actions were wrong. I felt remorse for my behavior, sought therapy, and made genuine progress, sincerely apologizing to him. I frequently experienced sadness and depression due to the turmoil at home. I worked diligently to repair our relationship, striving to be a better person and partner. However, he ultimately chose not to continue our relationship. I attempted dating again, but I still held feelings for him. It felt unfair to pursue relationships with others, as I knew I would never love them in the same way. It did not matter who they were or how fantastic they seemed. No one ever made me feel the way he did. He truly was the love of my life. The situation became more complicated. His mother was aware of my circumstances, and throughout our years of dating, she became like a mother figure to me, forming a close bond with his siblings. She still wanted me in her life, but I often felt guilty about it and withdrew, not wanting to make him uncomfortable. I cared for him deeply and wanted him to be happy. I never wanted to jeopardize the happy family dynamics he had, so I hesitated to come between that. Yet, every time I pulled away, she and his siblings would reach out to me again, and in subtle ways he would too. However, he constantly seemed unsure about what he wanted, pulling me in and pushing me away, leaving me emotionally wrecked each time. I find myself confused about what it all means now. I still love him, he understands that, but I am uncertain about his feelings toward me. I have very few family members, and my friends are occupied with their own lives and relationships. I do not want to drag them into my own despair. Eventually, they will marry and start families of their own, just as I had hoped to do with him. We never got engaged due to financial constraints and preferred to wait. However, we had chosen names for children and often discussed marriage and homeownership, as did his family. Weeks before he informed me that he no longer desired a relationship, he took me out to view the stars and professed his love for me, assuring me that one day it would just be the two of us. Then ensued a year of confusing, on-again, off-again turmoil. Even without him, I have no desire to pursue relationships with anyone else. Perhaps I am mistaken, but I have come to terms with the fact that I may be destined to remain alone. It is disappointing, but I have accepted it. In truth, it might be for the best anyway. I have medical issues and a history of cancer. I will likely face that again someday, which is a lot to ask someone to endure alongside me. It simply seems unfair to put someone through that, knowing I may never love them fully, not in the manner they would deserve or require or expect. I am comfortable being alone. I have spent considerable time in solitude, and much of my childhood felt profoundly lonely. I will have people in my life at various points, I am sure, but I do not anticipate forming long-term relationships again. Perhaps that will change, but at this stage in my life, I do not envision it happening. I have only ever truly loved and desired to be with one person, and how I loved him. I cherished him. He was the most extraordinary person to me. His smile, laughter, and voice filled me with warmth. I felt complete simply existing in the same room with him. He made time seem to stand still, adding color to my world. He brought warmth and sunshine into my life. I would have gladly followed him anywhere, wishing to spend my life beside him. However, he did not want me, so I stepped back to allow him happiness. His smile and laughter were what I treasured most, and I could not be the reason for their loss. So now I am just me alone, and that is acceptable. I am still okay. I am content as I can manage given the circumstances. I work and continue to move forward, progressing in life. Yet I recognize that as I navigate my journey, there is a significant chance I will do so alone. I might delete this later, but I needed to express my thoughts and release this weight from my mind. I'm alone, and that is satisfactory. Not everyone is meant to have a partner. I am simply one of those who is not destined for that. I apologize for the length of this, but it felt good to unburden myself. Story 2. I reunited with my ex, now single, and she stayed at my place despite us being just friends. My heart aches, but I can't let go. I am uncertain about where to begin, and I might ultimately erase this, but essentially, my former partner and I commenced our relationship several years ago, back in 2018. We were together intermittently for nearly 2 years before we officially separated towards the close of 2019. The relationship was unhealthy, yet I genuinely cared for her and wished we could find a way to make it successful. Frankly, there is a noticeable age difference between us, which I believe significantly contributed to our challenges. Nevertheless, I often hoped that perhaps one day, as we matured, we might reconcile and find happiness together. On a deeper note, my ex is undoubtedly the most remarkable woman I have ever known, let alone dated. She possesses beauty, intelligence, humor, excellent conversational skills, and remarkable taste in music, films, and diverse forms of art. Without delving into excessive specifics, she is genuinely the only person I have encountered in my life, whether male or female, who appreciates many of the same movies, shows, internet memes, and jokes that I do. Although our time together could be tumultuous, I truly felt as if my dreams had come true when I met her and our relationship began. Aside from some mental and emotional struggles we faced, she was practically flawless in every other aspect. Moreover, she supported me through many difficult times. During our first year of dating, my mother fell ill and was hospitalized for months. She accompanied me to visit my mother nearly every day, sometimes even sleeping on the couch in the hospital room. This was an incredibly frightening period for my entire family, and I cannot imagine how I would have coped without her. Naturally, she became close not only to me, but also to my parents, who adore her. I have never experienced any previous girlfriends bonding so well with my family. This was indeed my most significant relationship. After our separation, she relocated to a different state to be near her mother and remained there for an extended period. Initially, we maintained contact, but at some point during 2020 or 2021, she entered into a serious relationship and ceased communication. I respected her decision and did not disturb her. For additional context, during the 2 years we were together, we faced similar situations where we would break up, she would return home, and a few weeks or a month later, we would reconcile. I assumed this pattern would repeat itself, so I did not put forth as much effort this time to keep her close and resolve our issues. In 2021, I experienced particularly intense feelings of depression following the passing of one of my uncles, and I unexpectedly called her. To my surprise, she answered and informed me that she and her partner had just welcomed a baby. I congratulated her, but honestly, I felt empty inside and resigned to the idea that our fate was sealed, and we would likely never reunite, and that I might never see her again. I continued to think about her every single day, often multiple times a day. I wondered how she was faring and if she was happy. I repeatedly reminisced about our shared experiences. Naturally, I kept replaying scenarios in my mind, contemplating what I might have done differently to save our relationship. Then, in the summer of 2022, she unexpectedly reached out to me, and we began communicating again, with her even flirtatiously sending me intimate pictures at times without any prompting. We maintained our correspondence. She had left her child's father, was dating another man, and found herself in a troubling situation. Toward the end of summer 2023, she phoned me in tears, asking if she could visit and stay at my apartment for a while to escape her boyfriend and get her life back on track. Naturally, I agreed. Ultimately, she lived with me for about 6 months until I successfully persuaded her to rent a place with one of her friends. During this time, we remained just friends, and there were no sexual or romantic interactions. Fast forward to today, and she remains a significant part of my life. I frequently drive her to and from work since she lacks a car. She often goes out to bars after her shifts and calls me at 3 a.m. to stay at my place because I live within walking distance of the bar district. We enjoy watching television together. She surprises me with food in bed when I wake up, and she genuinely engages in conversation, being exceptionally kind to me. I do not ask for any of this. Sometimes, she even joins me at my parents' home for dinner, conversing with my mother and the rest of the family. I still find her presence captivating, and I cherish every moment I spend with her, even during the rare instances when she annoys me. However, I recognize that this situation is unhealthy for me. She has made it clear on several occasions that she does not wish to rekindle our romantic relationship. She largely attributes this to her view of herself as polyamorous and her desire not to date anyone exclusively, understanding it might cause me emotional pain if we became physically or romantically involved without exclusivity. Regardless, this circumstance is challenging, and as a result, I have turned to alcohol more frequently this past year and have started using hard drugs like cocaine to temporarily escape my feelings. I am uncertain about how to proceed. For months, I have been telling myself that I should write her a letter or have an extensive conversation to explain that we cannot continue this way, that I cannot provide her rides to work, allow her to crash at my place in the early hours after the bars, or assist her with laundry and food. It feels cruel, and I do not want to add any further difficulties to her life, especially when I genuinely enjoy giving her rides and appreciate her visits. Additionally, I am now in my mid-30s and feel quite lonely overall. Since our breakup at the end of 2019, I have not experienced any romantic relationships. On one hand, the toxicity of my past relationship makes the thought of dating again daunting. On the other hand, I do not consider myself charismatic or particularly photogenic. Like many men, my experiences with online dating have been dismal, perhaps only 5 to 10 genuine matches per year on Tinder, most of which do not transition into real conversations, let alone dates or more. I want to remain friends with her, if for no other reason than to have a woman in my life with whom I can communicate. I also wonder if, in the future, she might know a single friend whom she could introduce me to. As I age, my friends and I meet less frequently, gatherings have decreased, and meeting new people appears increasingly difficult. I do not want to completely remove her from my life, and I fear that might occur if I attempt to have this conversation and inform her that she cannot rely on me for support anymore. Additionally, I still hold on to the hope that we could potentially reconcile one day, however improbable that may seem. One reason I have not pursued dating is that I doubt I will meet another woman who I admire as much as her, making it challenging for me to see the purpose in attempting. I fear I may settle for someone who does not fulfill me and consequently be unable to provide them with the love and attention they deserve because my ex is perpetually on my mind. I wish I could find a way to move forward, but I am uncertain how to proceed.